Thank you, Streamlabs, for having knocked off all of my hardware and decided to switch everything to default, which defaulted to nothing. Hi everyone, I'm Simon at Wondering DM. This is a post-holiday stream. Hi friends, welcome. Cleric and Pope, could you just say a quick word just to make sure that we can hear you?
Hey everybody, Pope here. Okay.
Well, at least I see it in the bar. So why not, we'll go around the table, introduce ourselves, and then I'll introduce the game for tonight. So Pope, you've already begun, launched the ball. Why don't you keep going?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Hey, Pope World Build on Twitter, Pope World Build on Twitch. I lurk in all your streams. Hope everyone had a lovely holiday. Happy Boxing Day to all of you who are celebrating. Continuing joys, Hanukkah, and all the other holidays that are ongoing. Just happy to be here, happy to make it on the other side of the big holiday, and just looking forward to getting things going for the new year. Now, let's all get ready to have some sads, folks.
Yes. Because we'll have some, but first... Oh, yep.
I was going to say, always in for the feels.
Yeah, and speaking of here for the feels, who are you?
Oh, hi, I'm Kat. I am at Cleric of Cord. That's where you find me on Twitter. That's where you'll find me lurking in people's streams, just on Twitch or playing, just kind of hanging out. And yeah, happy holidays to everyone. I hope everybody came through feeling a little better than you did going in. And if not, well, we've always got 2020 to look for.
Indeed. I am Simon at Wondering DM. Welcome everyone to tonight's stream. We're going to learn a game. Well, actually, Cleric and Pope are going to learn a game that I have written, a small indie storytelling game that I am planning to release in early January of 2020. It is a game about... Let me get the prompt up. It is a game about letting go of the past, sacrifice, determination, and hope. It's a small indie game, and we will probably need your help, chat, during the game to help us make some decisions during the course of the game. I'll explain, I'll get into details after I've gone through all of our sponsors, because we have sponsors here at Wondering DM, people that help us with production and that share with us our love of TTRPGs. And I speak, of course, of Mage Hand Press, the makers of Dark Matter and of other great books such as The Complete Warden, The Complete Gunslinger, bunch of classes that they've made for 5th edition. They've also made Dark Matter, which is D&D in space. It's a fine supplement. It just came out a couple weeks ago in hardcover. If you want to get it, you can go on their website at store.magehandpress.com and use code WonderingDM to get 15% off. You can also go and check out Found Familiar, which is a coffee company that make some incredible coffee, and you can order from them, use code WonderingDM or the link down below to get 10% off anything you purchase. And if you're in the States, if you order for $50 or more, you get free shipping. Our last sponsor is down there below. It is a link to Dice Envy. I know Christmas is over, but if you love dice like I do, you might want to pick them up regardless of what time of year it is. So if you want your shiny click-clacks, they're down there. Dice Envy makes some amazing dice sets that are really affordable. Honestly, I was surprised at the quality for the price. So check them out. Coffee again. Are you ready to begin this journey with me?
Bring the pain.
Yes.
We will indeed bring the pain. This game is called Journey to Black Mountain, and it begins with the following prompt. In the end, we all reach the Black Mountain. All that we will need to play is a piece of paper, or in our case, probably a notepad or something to write on, because we have a little bit of writing to do, and a handful of d6s. Us all being gamers, I figure you have d6s ready, or a dice roller nearby. We honestly will not need to roll dice until the very end of the game. I'll explain how the game is played, but you will probably need between 4 to 6 d6s. While everyone is picking up their d6, I might have some music that we can play in the background. Yeah, those are 3 songs we could probably put on repeat. Let's try them. It might come out very loud for the first couple of seconds. I apologize. Is it loud enough for everyone in chat? I don't think you can hear it. Chat probably hears it, but us here in the Zoom cannot. I will share you my sound so you can listen in. There you go. So we got our d6s. We got our piece of paper or notepad or whatever to write. The first thing that we need to talk about before we play this game is, okay, this one might be a little too energetic for the game. This game actually makes use of safety tools such as the X, N, and O cards and the lines and veils. We are here familiar with safety tools, so we'll just go around the table, do a quick lines and veils so we know what to avoid during this game. My lines are very simple. I will always exclude from my game any form of sexual violence and violence towards children. As far as veils are concerned, I veil sexual interactions, if only because I don't feel comfortable having to describe that in front of people. What about you, Pope? Do you have any lines and veils aside from those that were already mentioned?
Only line to add is animal abuse.
Animal abuse, of course.
That's a hard no from me.
Same.
And veil wise, no, I'm good.
Good? Okay. And cleric.
Extreme child endangerment is one for me.
Okay.
As a line, and as a veil. And I know this sounds odd, but I didn't realize it was an issue until the first time it became an issue, and that's realistic snake noises.
We will avoid those.
Appreciate it.
That said, the X, N, and O cards will be in effect for this game, so if there's anything, you can send me an X, N, or O in chat. X if you want the scene to end, and we move on to something else, and we never mention it again. N is, you know, not being necessarily sure, but wanting to keep going, if only for curiosity's sake, and you might be fine with it, or it might turn into an X at any point. So N is to exercise caution, and O is, well, despite you crying or anything, you want to keep continuing, you want the drama to keep going. So if anything, if we get into some heavy scenes or something tonight, I will query both chat, just to make sure, and also us, the other players in the Zoom chat. Is that okay so far? Cool. Now, we'll start with the setup of the game. I'll explain the setup, I'll explain how the game is played, and then we'll get into everything, like the thick of it. So during setup, we will create our characters, we will answer a few prompts, and we will pick 2d6 from the pile and set them aside, which represent our resolve, our starting resolve anyway. And then the way the game works is in turn, each player will describe an obstacle that the group encounters on their journey. It can be a physical obstacle, such as a ravine, or an abstract obstacle, such as we face despair. And then the player will choose another player to roleplay out how their character helps the group overcome that obstacle. It's a bit like in, say, For the Queen, where you pick up a question, then you go into describing your answer to this question and answering questions and suggestions from the other players. However, in this case, other players may join in the scene if they choose, but always with the consent of the acting player. Same thing, the acting player cannot include others without their consent. You cannot just decide to take the reins of the whole story to yourself, unless everyone's fine and is on board with it, which might happen. Sometimes people might have things that they would not like to have ascribed to their characters, so always important to have consent. The players that aren't chosen for the scene, so neither the player that described the obstacle, that gave the obstacle, nor the player that answered it, the other players. In our case, because there's only 3 of us, it'll be 1 person, and you, chat, if you agree to help us out. We will need you to, at the end of a scene, determine if overcoming the obstacle brought the group closer to the Black Mountain or not. Here's the twist, however. Closer does not mean necessarily physically closer. It could be metaphorically closer. It could be metaphysically closer. It all depends on what you believe the Black Mountain is. Is it a place? Is it a state of being? Is it a time? Is it a memory? That will all depend, and as we progress in the game, we will further define what the famous Black Mountain is. And at the end of the game, we will reach the mountain, and then we will roll. And depending on our roll, it'll determine what happens to each of us as we reach the mountain. During character creation, we will choose 3 objects, or actually I should say 3 things that we hold dear. Things that we have brought along with us. They can be objects, people, or memories. In overcoming an obstacle, you can always discard one of these items. So you could explain how you use this person memory thing to overcome the obstacle, but doing so will always discard that people person memory. Which means that they can no longer, if it's a person, they can no longer accompany us in our journey. If it's a thing, it might be lost, it might be broken. If it's a memory, it is either forgotten, or maybe it is worked through internally, and the character came to term with that memory. Doing so will always give you an additional die. So regardless of what happens, you will pick up an additional die because you've used one of your things that you hold dear. Is that clear for everyone? Because those are basically all the rules they are. Alright then. Let us begin with character creation. It is very simple. We, the 3 of us, may not know each other. We'll decide that in a few moments. But we will start with choosing a name and a pronoun for our character. Now keep in mind, this story can take any direction. You can pick for yourself a dwarven name from Dungeons and Dragons, only to realize that the adventure takes place in New York 1920s. Well, we'll live with it, and we'll alter the story to fit what it is. So choose whichever name you want. You are not limited to anything, and choose pronouns for your character. We'll go around the table and introduce those characters in a moment. Once you've chosen a name and a pronoun for your character, you must then choose those famous three things. They can be a memory, an object, or a person that you are bringing along in this journey with you. If you've chosen, let me know. I'm done. Alright. So if you want, I can go first, and I will change my name at least in Zoom. I am Felumbar. Felumbar. He, him. And I am bringing with me on this journey a set of lockpicks given to me by my lover. I am bringing with me the memory of my first night living alone. And I am bringing with me a stuffed teddy bear. Who wants to go next?
Sure.
Okay.
I am playing Luca. I have with me my wedding ring. Memory of my wife's long illness before she died. And a deck of playing cards.
Alright, and Cleric.
I am playing Willow. They, them. Bringing along a memory of an old love long since gone. An item of sheet, a piece of sheet music. An old song that they sang with that love. And a simple gold band.
Luca, what were your pronouns?
He, him.
He, him. Alright. So, Felumbar, Willow, and Luca. Now that we've established the minimal information about our characters, we will answer the pre-game prompts. Just remember to take 2d6s, put them aside. Those will form the beginning of our pool for later. Once the characters are made, go around the table and read aloud the prompts and answer the questions. We are heading to the Black Mountain. How?
Hiking. We are hiking up this mountainous valley towards the mountain.
Hiking a mountainous valley. Alright. We cannot go back. Why? I would say we cannot go back, for we were cast out. Who are we to each other?
Strangers, acquaintances, bonded through having been cast out together.
All right. What drives us toward the Black Mountain?
Redemption.
All right, and last question. Where are we now?
We are at the edge of the shadowed lake at the base of the mountain.
Cool. I have copy that into Zoom chat, and I will do the same for the Twitch chat so that everyone can see it. So, how are we getting to the Black Mountain? It is by hiking a mountainous valley. Why can we not go back is because we were cast out. Who are we to each other? Strangers, acquaintances. What drives us is redemption, and we are currently standing at the edge of a shadowed lake at the base of the mountain. Now, one of us should go first with an obstacle. If you want, I can go first. I'll roll randomly between the two of you who I'll assign it to, and I will use, there's a prompt in, a table, I should say, at the end of the rules, to generate a random obstacle. So our first obstacle will be, that's an 8, alright, and I will choose Pope to begin with. So the obstacle that I give to the group is, as we are standing at the edge of this shadowed lake, we are homesick.
Being homesick, Gower, Luke will start by gathering some driftwood from the side of the lake, starting a fire, just flint and steel, getting a spark, and clearing a place for all of us to sit by the fire. We'll take out his playing cards and just start dealing a game to all of us. Something simple, something easy, something from our youth.
Okay. Do you mind if I come into the scene?
By all means.
I sit down next to the fire, not across from you, but not too close. And I set my teddy bear next to me, and I say, would you mind also dealing to Mr. Peeblebum?
Sure. And deals out a set, probably something akin to Go Fish.
Okay.
Just a very simple, easy game. But one that reminds most of us of better times. Something to distract from the loneliness.
As we're playing, after a few rounds, Felumbar will say, Luca was your name, right?
Yeah.
I think I overheard some of the others mention it. I'm Felumbar. This game that we're playing right now, I didn't think I'd ever see someone know the rules of it ever again. It's kind of reassuring to know that, you know, we're not completely alone.
Well, until we make it up there, at the very least, we've got each other.
I hope it's true.
Yeah. So do I.
Why are you here?
When you start beating yourself up as much as I have, and think as ill of myself as I have, well, everyone else tends to believe what you're telling them. And so, I'm here. I'm here because the wrong person lived, and the wrong person died.
not accustomed to death as you seem to be, but I can see it in your face that it weighs heavily on you.
Death is rarely a friend. It's a friend to the elderly, and it's a friend to those who have been sick for a very long time, but otherwise it's an enemy. An ill guest.
Well,
have any threes?
No, but I think Mr. Peeblebum has one. He's been showing his cards this whole time.
Well, it's nice to have someone so accommodating.
Yeah, he's, I would beware, though, Mr. Peeblebum is a card shark. And has been known to flounce others of their winnings.
Well, I'll just have to be on my guard with the next hand.
May I?
By all means.
Willow has stayed silent throughout this, listening a little, humming a tune. Much like the card game, a simple tune, one we all know, one that would be associated with our childhood, a folk tune. At the mention of the Mr. Tibbles being a card shark, they look up from their cards and go, I have been fleeced by their kind before.
I would apologize for Mr. Peeblebum, but he is incorrigible.
Most card sharks are.
What's your name?
I'm Willow.
Oh, you got King?
Go fish.
Yeah, here.
Oh, thanks.
Spoke too soon.
Sixes?
Yeah, I've got 1-6.
Next.
We're not going back, are we?
There's no going back.
To what?
I don't know, despite everything, I kind of liked it.
There's only one way, and that's up. What they say is true. That's our one way out.
And at that, Fellenbar looks up at the shadow of the mountain. Oh. Up seems difficult.
Back seems more impossible to me. Besides, it's a pleasant enough day, and my legs could use a stretch.
Which district are you from? He asks the two of you.
I was from outside the wall.
Oh.
No, my wife and I were part of the settlement. It was nice for a while.
We lost the cleric. I'm sure she'll be back momentarily. Let me just switch a thing real quick so we can see more than half of Pope. There we go. I'll fix it later.
All right.
When Cleric comes back. So you were from outside the walls.
Yeah.
I was from Lakeside.
Oh.
Well, I say I was from. That's where I lived anyway, but that wasn't home. Yeah, not to me and Mr. Bibbleton.
Do they have you working long over in the factories, or no?
They tried to make me. For as far back as I can remember, I was part of the chain. I couldn't handle it anymore. One day, I met this little fella here, and I point to the teddy bear. And I realized that there was more to my life than working from sunup to sundown, or ruining my health for people that couldn't care less. So I ran. Back then, I wasn't allowed in Lakeside. But I found ways, some that I'm not too proud of, but ways nonetheless. Found shelter where I could, and survived when I could. I ended up in Lakeside only a year ago. And he looks around furtively, as if to, make sure that nobody else is listening in. I basically lived in the walls of one of the villas, hiding my presence from the actual occupants.
Ever been to Lakeside? Just heard about it.
Well, some say it's beautiful, but it sure was more calm than other parts of the city. But everyone in Lakeside is cold. They don't have, I don't know. It's like they don't have a heart.
My closest interaction with nobility was the guard. That was it.
Yeah. Did you get arrested?
No. No, you actually have to do stuff to get arrested.
Hmm.
No, nothing like that. Just part of the day in and day out when you're on the outside.
So what was it like outside the walls? I heard that... Well, I heard that the people there were villains and...
No, not villains, just didn't fit. So trying to make as good as the city would have us do, and try and forge out past the wall, past the gray, make something of life. They didn't tell us what all was out there. Plenty of folk tales about all sorts of boogeymen, but they didn't tell us about the real boogeymen.
They were boogeymens?
Not in the manner of speaking. All the different diseases out there past the walls.
Yeah. Is that... Never mind. Got any twos?
2 2s.
Mr. Peoplebum, you have to call out when you have the card I'm asking for. Sheesh.
Yeah. No, it... I'm sorry you can't go back. I know it wasn't good, but it was safer than here.
It certainly was warmer.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. 9s?
Yeah, I got one.
And like that, I'm out.
Did I win?
Yep.
Yay. Well, at least I win something. I don't have to take it from anyone.
No. You earned that one.
That was nice. Talking and playing. Thank you.
You're welcome. We should probably break up camp and start climbing.
Yeah. Is your scene over?
Yes.
Alright. So with that, we will end the scene. And while we wait for Cleric, we will ask chat. Now, this obstacle and how this obstacle was overcome through, you know, the scene that we just played. Do you believe that it brought us closer to the Black Mountain or not? So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are physically closer, geographically closer to the Black Mountain than we were when we began. But in the grand scheme of things, has it brought us closer to the eponymous Black Mountain? We'll leave you a few seconds. Actually, while you deliberate on that, and try to help us, I'll just go on the break screen. We'll wait for Cleric to finish rebooting her computer, and we will be right back. We are back, everyone. Cleric is still fiddling with her computer. She'll be here momentarily. But judging from this first interaction, this first scene, do you think this has brought us closer to the Black Mountain? And I will also ask Pope that same question. Do you think it brought us closer?
I think it brought us a little closer. At least it got us started.
I was thinking so as well. We didn't move in any way, but it did set a certain like launch pad for our journey. So what we'll do is, if the group is getting closer, both the player who described the obstacle and the chosen player will pick a die from their pile and add it to their pool. So that would bring us to 3 dice each. Like Wiley is saying in chat, it was an emotional proximity. Yep, it might have brought us closer to, emotionally closer to what we think the mountain is. Pope, did you use an item from... Did you want to discard an item that you brought with you?
Yeah, I'll discard the cards.
Alright.
Maybe I'll say those...
discarded?
We'll say as we're hiking, that they fall out of Luca's pocket along the trail. And with everything else going on, with, say, like the morning mists and whatnot, it's just one more thing that gets caught and left behind.
Okay. So you can take another die and add it to your pool.
All right. So as we're hiking up this trail, out the side of this mountain, what little path there is all of a sudden obscured by this briar thick thicket. Just tons of this nasty thorns, twisting ivy that just needs to either be cleared, avoided by going up a more perilous path, but it's definitely in the way.
Felumbar, who's been walking, in this case with a sort of pep in his step. Perhaps it was a conversation from earlier today, or just the fresh mountain air that got to him. But Felumbar was at the head, at the vanguard of our little group, and stops near this thicket. And scratches their head. He first tries to pass through, getting stung and scratched by the briars. Comes back out of the bush. This is clearly not going to work. And he tries to move them aside, and even then, they are the branches of this, like these brambles, I guess, or like thorny bushes, are too big to break easily. The thorns are too numerous to try to get a good grip on them. And hello, cleric. Hello. So we're at our second obstacle. There is a thorny bush in front of us. And Felumbar is trying to overcome that obstacle. And I don't want to do it. I have a... I can take us through those thorns, but I have a way, but I don't want to do it. I'd rather stay here. Have we climbed high enough? Can we just, I don't know, build a settlement here and live? I don't want to.
Way out is up.
But the thorns, they're... I don't have gloves. I don't have a whole lot to... I have Mr. Bibblebum. And I know that he'd be big enough to help us move the thorns and not get hit. But I don't want to lose Mr. Bibblebum because it's the only thing I have.
You gotta ask yourself. Do you want to be stuck? Or do you want to make it out of here?
I want to make it out. I think. But I don't want to be alone. And without Mr. Bibblebum, I'll be alone forever.
Now, if we get to the top.
You don't know what's at the top.
For certain? No. I just know it's the way out.
What if I find another way? Would you be willing to wait for me? Maybe there's another path. Maybe we can go back down the mountain and just climb elsewhere.
We can try. But this is the one path up.
Mr. Bibblebum. All right. And Felumbar will take the teddy bear in one hand. And shove it on the thorns and like move them aside delicately. And as he does so, the thorns rip into Mr. Bibblebum's stitches. And with each step forward, each rip that is made in the teddy bear, Felumbar remembers, like we can see flashes of when he was working at the factory, sewing these teddy bears. And how, like, this one bear that he got, he tried to sew the bow tie, which was his place in the chain. And he missed and pricked his finger with the needle. And he yelped in pain, much like he yelped in pain when he hit the thorns earlier. And that netted him a beating from the foreman. And I mean, he was, like, Felumbar isn't very old. He's, like, early 20s. He was not a child back then either. But, you know, a needle in the finger is still a needle in the finger, regardless of how old you are. And because of all that, work had stalled to a point. When he went back to his station, Mr. Pibbleton was there, still waiting for him. This unfinished bear, still missing an eye, with one loose arm that wasn't stuffed properly. And Felumbar, like, decided to take care of that bear from now on. That bear that he bled for. And we cut back to the passage through the thorns as he's just stifling away tears, trying to get the group through, and like holding some of the branches at bay while everyone crouches through. Eventually, by the end of this passage, there is barely nothing left of the teddy bear. Stuffing is just scattered across the thorns, the brambles. His right hand, that was holding the bear, is now covered in scratches. And he looks to the group and says, "Well, we made it. Some of us made it anyway."
May I?
Yes.
Willow will hold out their hands to Felumbar, to place the bear in their hands.
I think I'll need a moment for Mr. Pipplebum.
Of course.
And he sets him down on the side of the path. Shit, my nose is leaking. Can you give me a moment? I'll be right back. Do we have Kleenexes up here?
This is what happens when you swing for the fences, folks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you own goal. That's not always a bad thing.
So, he sets aside Mr. Pipplebum and says, "Well, so ends the life of Mr. Pipplebum, the strongest of bears."
I think I can help.
Cards. What?
I think I can help.
With what?
And Willow pulls out sheet music. 4 or 5 pages for which you would put on a piano to play. And begins tearing shreds of the paper of the sheet music. Replacing the stuffing where they can, and then using other strips to bind where they can.
But that's your music.
It's our music.
And he picks up, like, Mr. Pipplebum and holds it close. You were right, Mr. Luca. We're not alone.
Now I'm leaking.
And I think that will end the scene. Um. So. Oops. I think I went hard for my scene.
Yeah, but that's kind of your reputation now, isn't it?
Yeah. It doesn't help that I have a very finite quantity of tissues up here. Oh shit. He says as he draws the last one. Let's hope the other scenes are... Oh well. Cleric. Sorry to put you on the spot again. Cleric and chat, actually. Do you think that this scene, that overcoming this obstacle, brought us closer to the Black Mountain, or not?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Alright, I'll just wait a second for chat, but I think they'll agree with you. Cleric, because you sacrificed your sheet music, your music sheets for Mr. Pibblebum that I tried so hard to discard during this scene, you get to pick a die from the pool and add it to your own pool.
Okay. Music is healing.
Because it brought us closer to the Black Mountain. Pope and I both get an extra die. Because it did bring us closer. Since he was the one giving the obstacle, I was the one answering. So me to Pope, Pope to me. So what's missing is... We should go around the tape. So it was me to Cleric, and then Cleric to Pope. Those are the two scenes that are missing right now. I think I've played enough for this. So why don't we go with Cleric? What would be our next obstacle on the stream? Or actually, no, wait. Because Pope, you gave an obstacle. I gave an obstacle, you solved it. So actually it would be Cleric's turn to solve one. So I'll give you an obstacle. After the thorny bush. We have kept ascending the mountain for about 2 days when it begins to pour. A cold, unrelenting rain that refuses to let go for hours now. We are soaked. Our pace is slowed down to a crawl. And there doesn't seem to be any shelter in sight.
Willow will start singing again. Just the same simple tune. A song of home, of warmth, of being with people that you feel safe, where you feel warm. And within the song is a memory. But as we march along, Willow
It's okay.
sorry. Willow will look at Luca and do Do you know these words? Do you know this song?
I can't carry a tune in a bucket, but my wife used to sing it.
Well, you don't need to carry a tune in a bucket. It's already pouring buckets.
Fair enough. I might be able to hum along.
And the two of them singing. Willow harmonizing with Luca to make it not quite as discordant, I think. Trying to lift the group's spirits, to make it a little easier.
Luca hums. Hearing you harmonize will hum louder. Not necessarily better, but louder. And we'll start trying to, despite the rain, despite the wet, walk in time. Seeing a bit of maybe what he did before he got married kick in and start just climbing in cadence, pushing on ahead, trying to with that tune and humming loudly and having a little something to remind him of when he was younger. Push on up the mountain. He takes off his shirt, soaked through, as he's moving along, brings it out, just wraps it around himself like a belt, and just climbs, climbing in time, humming almost obscenely loud. Not enough to drown Willow out, but just enough to show an maybe unhealthy level of enthusiasm.
You remind me of my partner. They were much the same.
Well, when you hit a certain age, you either have your parents make excuses for you, you either are, in fact, too sickly to serve, or you end up serving. I wasn't born to wealthy parents, and I was healthy enough.
He would hum too, loudly.
It's hard to screw up the tune when you're just humming it.
I'll teach you the words, if you like.
Maybe if we get further. Let's just try and keep pushing until the storm breaks. Then we can all be wet and cold together and you can teach me the words.
Do you know what this song is about?
Oh, no. We just used it for cadence.
It's an old folk song. It's a song of, well, it's a traveling song. Oddly enough, designed actually to help keep cadence, to help lift the spirits as you trudged along. Some of the verses are not as family friendly as others. We didn't teach the children those when we walked along. But it tells of a journey to a place where journeys end, where you no longer have to move on. You can stay and find hearth and home. But until that day, we march along and we sing our song. And we take our comforts where we can.
The way's up.
It always is.
For a moment, he's a little quiet, but then he moves further on, hearing you go quiet, and just starts humming loudly again. Standing. The only thing to happen is the trudging of feet and the pouring of rain. It's too scary.
Now and then, Willow will look back to see how Fallenbar is doing with Mr. Tittlebum. How they're faring.
He is soaked through. But he's paying close attention to the song as if it was... It's not a song he knows. But at least it's something that he must have heard before. Something that like hits close to home. Like you know that feeling when you can't really put your finger on it, but you know that you should know about this? Or that you once knew about something.
Everyone knows Bohemian Rhapsody. You don't remember when you learned it, but we all know it.
Yeah, the Bohemian Rhapsody effect. It's like that. But he doesn't know the tune nor the words. Sometimes you'll hear him mumble what is an incredibly wrong rendition of one of the verses. With, half words. But it does cheer him on. And to see that, where he would have faltered and stopped, both of you keep going on singing. And that gives him, that inspires him to a degree that he might not have known in his life.
That was really close. You almost had the whole verse.
Thank you, but I sing worse than Luca.
That's not...
But...
Willow's life has always been music. There was always music in Willow's life. And music is not about how well you sing, if you can carry a tune, or do you know the words to the song. It's about a mood, a memory, a feeling. It creates bonds, it strengthens you, and it comforts. And it heals. And that's what Willow is trying to let Fallenbar and Luca know, that it doesn't matter what the words are to the song, it's how the song makes you feel and what it gives you.
Is that the end of your scene?
I think it ends with a few more hours. Luca's almost hoarse from practically humming at the top of his lungs over the howl of the storm. Willow is gone through several of the body verses at this point, just because that's the only verses that are left that haven't been sung. And just as Willow starts to falter, just as their song starts to falter, the rain starts to ease. And we're back under the trees. And there's shelter.
Nice. Pope, would you say this brought us closer to the Black Mountain?
Yes.
Then both Cleric and I will take a die. Kat, did you use any of your things that you cherished?
The memory of her loved one long gone. The partner whose Luca's singing reminded them of.
And how was that memory discarded for you?
It's always been a bit of a sweet memory. They left. Willow is older than they appear, although none really know. Willow's been in the village, in the town, seemingly always been there. But they arrived alone. They've always been alone. Nobody's ever known that Willow had a partner. And that memory of the bitter parting has been put aside.
Then you can take another die and add it to your pool. To complete our first go around the table, the next scene is an obstacle given by Cat 2. Pope.
As we've climbed higher, the way has become rocky. Once we've passed through the trees. Black Mountain is a bald mountain. It has no trees at its summit. At a certain level, it is just bare rock. And while the rain has stopped, the rocks are cold and wet. The summit is in sight, but the path grows more difficult of bare rock.
Okay. The worst part's ahead. Let's take a breather. We all need to have all of our strength if we're going to do the next part. Starts making a small camp right at the edge as everything becomes clear, with one of the few saplings, breaks it down, makes a loose fire. running out of food. We're getting tops in sight, but that climb's gonna be hellacious. Starts preparing rations, pouring out water into everybody's cups. This being like probably the 5th day on this climb. They say if you make it, out, you might see those that you've left behind. Her name was Ashley. The one that shouldn't have died. We tried to make a new life together. I mean, I did my service, but I thought I could, with the money I made, like, do something. Maybe not make it like to where the muckety mucks were, but make a good life of things. But I've never been an exceedingly lucky man. I was only lucky in 2 ways. That she was able to love this ugly mug. And that I have the unfortunate gift of not dying. Both tried to make a life of it out in the settlement, trying to establish a new homestead for the walls to be extended to. But when you're out past the gray, there's all sorts of creepy, crawling, biting things. Doesn't matter how nice the water is, doesn't matter how good the soil is. And we both got sick. There I was, hacking, coughing, dying alongside her. But I could be vertical. I could move. When I close my eyes at night, I'm still in our little house. Doctors coming in to try and attend to her. Or holding on. She passed 13 days before her birthday. She had barely had the life I had. I traveled. I was able to do so much while serving. I've been to the ocean. I've sailed. I've been to the opera. I did all these things. She was just starting her life. Our life together.
May
A
I?
wrong person died. Yeah.
Do you think she'll be waiting for you at the top of the mountain?
It's what keeps me going. even if I'm fooling myself. Just the chance. Just the chance means the world.
May I?
Yes.
What about the ones that left us behind?
I don't know, but I hope. You gotta have one thing to cling on to. It's the first thing they tell you when you get out of basic. You give yourself one thing. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be the memory of your mom's cooking, girl in a port. You give yourself one thing so you keep pushing on. And I have to hope. I have to. For all that hell, for all that loneliness, and the loathing, the memories, the nightmares in the night, I gotta keep hoping. And I'm gonna reach the top. And I'm taking you both with me. We're making it. Because we deserve to make it. I'm gonna see her again. And we're all making it.
He left because I had a long life, an undying. He wanted normal. I was anything but.
Again, it's the way out. They say they're on the other side. And if he is anything like me, he's waiting. And I'm gonna make sure that you two see each other again. I don't care if I have to carry the both of you. We're making it up there.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
All right. Let's eat this slop. Get some shut-eye. As soon as we wake up, we're going. Hook, crook, broken nail, broken toe, don't matter. We're getting up. We're getting to the top.
I have more songs.
Well, I can always learn a new tune to hum.
Something to surprise her with.
Good. Staring at the bear. You still with us, friend?
Mr. Pibblethumb says that, yeah, he's ready to climb the rest of the mountain. His feet hurt, but he says he's not going to complain.
When you can't stand, you lie down and you ask for help. I've got enough strength for all of us. They're waiting.
If you ever lie down, Mr. Luca, I'll make sure. I'll make sure to carry you.
Thanks, Philombar.
Yeah.
But when we start, pace yourself. Don't push. We're gonna get up there. I'm not gonna let them wait any longer. And with the light dying down, bellies as full as they're going to get. Everyone with their packs curled around together, last vestiges of trees. And a cold wind beginning to blow. That's where the scene ends.
I think that with the inspiring speech that Luca gave, we are definitely getting closer to the Black Mountain. Both Cleric and Pope, you can take a die and add it to your pool. Did you use any of your cherished things in this?
Yes. Memory of my wife's illness and death. That night's the first night he hasn't decent enough sleep. Because instead of tomorrow being another day without her, he's gonna see her again.
Then you can take an extra die, add it to your pool. We have gone through one round of the table. I don't know how to call it, but like once around the table. And it's been an hour and a half. Would you like to get to the end right away, or would you want to go around once more?
I think we're towards the top.
All right. Then we will move to the conclusion. For in the end, we all reach the Black Mountain. Once the group has decided that they've reached the mountain, which we have decided, each player rolls their d6s and tally the result. So we can roll, add all the dice together. I've got a 15.
32.
21.
All right. The player who rolled the highest must read and answer the following question. I'll post it in Zoom, so you can read it aloud, Pope, and answer it.
You have reached the summit of the Black Mountain, leaving much behind. As you gaze beyond, you discover to your surprise that you're no longer in hell. You've made it out. You've made it back into the cycle. And you get another chance.
To the person that rolled the second highest. Oh, were you done, Pope? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
To the person who rolled the second highest, this is the line to read, the question to read and answer.
You've reached the Black Mountain and have climbed its peak. Doing so granted you wisdom, and now you understand that some things need to be left behind. That redemption isn't in always finding what you lost, but in letting it go. And on that peak, Willow sets down a gold ring and will walk forward, free of the regret and the loss, and ready to move forward.
The player who rolled the lowest must read and answer the following question. The impressive mountain towers over you like the many hardships that have brought you here. Overburdened by the past, you cannot climb its steep slopes. You take comfort with the others that have gathered at its foot. One day, you will ascend the Black Mountain. But until then, you will always remember the words of Luca and the songs of Willow. And despite the fact that you could not let go of your previous life, that you weren't ready, not like Luca and Willow were. I have vowed, Felumbar, to be a guide to the others that will follow after us, and to help them reach the summit of the mountain, even though I cannot. We can then go around the table if you so wish, and describe how reaching the mountain changed our character, and where else they will go next.
So, you see a young man, buzz cut, awkwardly attending orientation at a university, and just eyes across the room, a young woman, long auburn hair, a demure smile, who looks back at him. They both smile. He gets up from his chair and sits next to her. They quickly start laughing. Camera zooms away, and you just hear more laughter.
Do you want me to go?
Tall, thin, long silver blonde hair. They wander, singing songs, singing for the supper, until they find a place. A place not unlike one from their distant past. And close enough to feel comfortable but not familiar. And the songs come again. Not the old ones, but new ones. New memories. New stories. A song about a stuffed bear with a thorn in its paw. About a young soldier and his lost love. And about love and loss. And moving on until you find that home where you don't need to move anymore.
You would see a short, black-haired man, barely a man, with freckles across his face. A simple sweater and torn up pants. Upon his belt is hooked a very dirty teddy bear. And this young man can be seen climbing the mountain. The steepest slopes do not scare him anymore. But he never goes beyond where the group had their last supper, their last meal together. He instead carries people over to that part, up to that point. And, you know, if they falter, he'll carry them. Every time he reaches that point, he tries to either sing a song or tell a rousing speech, but while it may work on others, it never works on him. One day, he says, one day it'll be my turn. And thus the game ends. What did you think? Actually, before I ask you what you think, I'm gonna ask you the same thing I asked everyone that played this game so far. What do you think the Black Mountain was in the end?
There's so much there. Like, it's so many different things. Like, in a simple narrative sense, it can be a test, a trial, purgatory, a journey. It's all these things, but it's also it's not just an external one. It's an internal journey. It's wrestling with yourself, but you're not alone in doing it. You're grappling with these things that are unique to you, unique to the human condition, but at the same time, it's something that we all have that mountain. And what's at the top, it's different for everybody, but the important thing is that you're climbing it and you're not doing it alone.
It's the past. It's the only way to move on, as hard as it is. You have to sometimes literally leave things behind in order to move forward. You have to move past those emotions, leave behind the accumulated things, put to rest memories before you can carry forward. And I think Black Mountain is something that once you've climbed it, if you look over your shoulder, it's always there. It doesn't matter how far you move on or where you go. You can look over your shoulder and you'll see it, and you remember the journey. And you remember the ones that journeyed with you, the ones that carried you when you couldn't stand or crawl, the ones who gave you hope through their songs or bound your wounds so that you could keep going.
Yeah. It's different for everyone. And that's what I love about the game. What did you think of this game?
It's very good.
Thank you.
But
Mm-hmm.
it is definitely something I recommend, but you really need to be prepared. You need to go in completely eyes open. You need to be ready.
Yeah.
Because you are going to go places that normally we try and hide from in our day-to-day life. That is something that will happen. It may be by design, it may be by accident, but you're going to end up there. And the responsible thing, the important thing, is that you know that you're going to end up there, and instead of running, you embrace it. You hold it tight. You hold it tight like a friend, and you ride it out. So I absolutely love it, but I also know that as much as I do, you have to be prepared.
I kind of threw
Yeah.
you in unprepared today.
I think the cosmos got me ready for this one.
Yeah, I unwittingly exercised a few ghosts, and but yeah, I wasn't prepared to do that, but it happened, and I'm glad it happened. But yeah, it's one that you need to be, like you said, aware of what's coming so that you can. There's going to be minds that are going to get stepped on inadvertently. All in all, though, it was cathartic from a personal point of view. It was cathartic,
Thanks.
and I think we need that. I think there are a lot of games that evoke feels. There aren't many that provide catharsis.
And that's one of the things that is beautiful about where we are right now, and particularly beautiful about this game, is that one, we got to have that. Two, and this thing that I'm going to constantly reflect on, and thank you both for it, is that moment of laughter. Those as much of the sad and the catharsis. There was levity, there was brightness, there was contrast. A painting is only a painting if there's contrast. And this has it. And that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I want to thank all of you for it.
You're absolutely welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to the two of you. I can't speak anymore. Thank you to the two of you for agreeing to be emotionally tortured by my little game. Like I said earlier, I'm hoping if everything goes well, this game's going to be released early January on itch, on drive-thru. I'll probably do other streams. We'll see. But on that note, we will get going. For this was our stream tonight. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out in chat. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the interaction. I hope we didn't ruin your holidays by making you cry. And if it is, I half apologize. Because part of the game, like Cleric said, is catharsis. And honestly, it's what I made the game, what I had in mind when I made it. And I'm glad to see that others think the same. So, thank you to Mage Press, thank you to Found Familiar, thank you to Dice Envy. You can check them out in the link below. Let's go around the table. Tell us who you are, where we can find you on the internet, what you have going on. Let's begin with, let's say, Cleric this time.
Hi, I'm at Cleric of Cord. That's where you'll find me on the Twitters. I tweet about games. I tweet about all kinds of stuff. I retweet a lot about my friends and all the cool things that they're doing. And not this Friday, January 3rd, you can find me back on Encounter Roleplay at 2 p.m. 5 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, that's it. Times. That's a thing. Judge Dredd. The law is back.
Ooh.
So look forward to seeing you there. There are other things coming up that are still in the works I can't quite talk about yet. Not ready to put out there, but keep an eye out. I'll have a pinned tweet up when it's ready.
Cool. Thank you for coming, Cleric. Pope, where
Thank
can we
you.
find you? You're welcome.
Hey everybody, Pope here. Pope World Bill on the Twitter, Pope World Bill on the Twitch. I lurk in all your streams. If you want to see more of this ridiculous face, you can catch me over on Matev7's channel as we get down with the neon in the dreadful beat of DJ Straw at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And then while we're taking a upcoming break for the new year, you can check us out over on Tales from the Grim Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern for Deadlands, The Road to Desperation. Will we get there? Will we be in one piece? Will the doc have his throat torn out beforehand? I'm not sure, but we will see. And in the new year, there's a few other things, but we will get to that in the new year. But before I leave, I must say, I want to thank Simon. You're amazing. Kat, I love you. And for all of you who are with us in chat, where you're watching live, you're in the VOD, watching on YouTube, you're as much part of the story as we are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for telling these stories with us. You mean the world to me. I know this year's been rough for a lot of people. The holidays are always a trying time. But know that you are loved and are deserving of love. And I hope that the new year is good for all of us. Take care.
On that note, we will see each other tomorrow for Cyberpunk as we continue our second episode, second session of this campaign. So come around. We have prizes for those that attend, and we have surprises for the players, as the last session ended with the meeting, a meeting with a figure from Jinx's past. On that note, ciao everyone. Have a good rest of the holidays, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.